The first 5 episodes, you're kind of like, in terms of the prisoners, you're sort of starting to identify and root for them as you do in a lot of prison escape movies, series.
Right.
And then you see what happened, what they did to get into prison.
Yeah.
But you also, with your character, with Lyle, you see that maybe he's not, there's a few more wrinkles to Lyle than we imagined.
Yeah, there's a little plot that she cooks up with Lyle to instigate a fight with the ex-husband, to show in court that he's violent so they could steal his kid from him. So Lyle's not innocent by any means. He's a manipulatable being.
Right.
You know? And that was something Ben talked about the whole time, was not that this wasn't about prison or the prison system, but about the fact that all these people are human, you know, and capable of micro crimes and major crimes and moral crimes, and so I find that whole gray area really interesting. And
yeah, because with Lyle up to that point, I mean, you just kind of sympathize with this poor guy who didn't see what was going on around him.
Right.
But then you see in episode 6 that he was kind of on the other end of that.
Yeah, you know, and Lyle was married at that time.
Right.
And left his own wife, you know, had his own kids. I mean, what I think is interesting about Lyle was, you know, the major question is, what did he know and when did he know it? And in the beginning, the very first episode, you see they're talking in the movie theater, and he's like, you know,
yeah.
people say you've been talking to this one guy a lot.
Right.
You know, he's on to it fairly quickly, and she shuts him down. But I like to think that he smells something the entire time, and what he's left with is the decision about whether or not it's worth it to actually act on the frustration or the hurt that's around it. Because if he does, he could lose her, and they've been together for 21 years or something. You know, they wake up together, they drive to work together, they work all day, and then they go home and pick a place to eat and go to bed. It's like
they're together.
They're one being, really.
Yeah.
And I think the idea of, you know, this is my supposition, my guessing, but the idea of not having her was just almost unthinkable to him. So he's wrestling with a way to find this acceptance, which I think is what we tried to do in the very last scene, you know, in the visitation. Because she says to him, you know, I'm sorry, and she says to him, I miss you, and things that he hasn't heard probably in 15 years,
right.
You know. And on the day, in the script, she said, I miss you. Are you going to wait for me? And in the script, he says, yeah. And then he says, there's a lot to talk about. I'll see you in court tomorrow. And on the day, Ben came over and said, what if you don't answer? What if we cut that? And so now she says, are you going to wait for me? And the next thing I say is, there's a lot to talk about. I'll see you in court. And it gives him a little bit of dignity on the tail end of this thing where the guy's been fairly, you know, malaligned, but
the real Lyle is waiting for her.
He is.
Yeah.
He is, yeah.